This is about the training and funding and resources that exist for persons with disabilities in the state of Pennsylvania, and in particular autism. Autism is defined as a disorder which is characterized by severe impairments in the areas of social, emotional, and intellectual functioning. And children who are diagnosed may have difficulty in communicating with others, carrying on appropriate interactions in society, and in general behavior. Identifying children typically occurs early on, and the causes of autism are unknown, but there have been proposals that relate the cause of autism to genetic, neurological, and environmental factors. It can have issues in society, environment, the culture, the ethical considerations that are part of what people with autism have to face, in addition to the economic and political considerations involved, make it a very serious issue and something that must be discussed and given a great deal of thought to. If at any time you need answers to questions or resources, you can check out some of the local organizations such as the Autism Society of Pittsburgh. For persons with autism or families that have an individual that has been diagnosed with autism or one of the disorders on the autism spectrum, there are many resources available for persons to find out about and receive training and resources that can help with funding for their needs. Some of these resources are local, as well as through the state of Pennsylvania and nationally. So I want to take some time and show you some of the resources that are available through local organizations. The first one is the Autism Center of Pittsburgh, and this one has some locations in the North and the South Hills, and the website is very user-friendly. So persons that have concerns regarding anything related to autism can come to this site and have a lot of information easily located at their fingertips. For About Us, you can see a list of the persons that are employed in the center, hear from people that have had experience with the center. The Autism Resources provides links and information to help with any areas such as social skills, applying for medical assistance. There is a library with video resources to help families and the individuals. It has a list of events in and around Pittsburgh, and also has access for if a person needs a service dog. If people are interested in helping, which is definitely needed, especially today when there is an increasing need for funding and for appropriate training, people can make private donations, corporations can make donations or sponsorships, and there's other ways to give. If people need to hear firsthand from other experiences that people have had in dealing with autism as a diagnosis, they can look to the blog, which is a great place to find out how other people are handling the daily struggles and challenges that may come along with living with autism, or with helping others to become trained and lead fulfilling lives through employment and just daily activities with autism. In the news, to find out if there are any things that are happening or relevant topics such as funding, or if other people are organizing some type of an event for educating the public, or if there's an advocacy event coming up. This is a great place to look. In relation to the issue of adequate training and funding in Pennsylvania, one of the recent articles just from last week is how the need for autism services is overwhelming the supply. And that is because the numbers of persons diagnosed with autism or one of the autism spectrum disorders is increasing. And if you select this article, you can be taken to more information about it. And the way that people can help is by learning more and seeking out information from websites such as the Autism Center of Pittsburgh. And based on this picture, you can see that this young man has had some training so that he can seek employment. And so persons seeking employment or training can find out how to do this and see resources that are available for persons looking to provide the support necessary. So this is one example of a place people can go for information. Another one is the Autism Society of Pittsburgh. The Autism Society of Pittsburgh is similar to the previous organization in that it has many choices available at the top for people to find out information. One of them is breaking news. Breaking news can be anything that is coming up recently or in the near future, events, fundraising, focus groups, anything can be found under the breaking news. The Autism Society of Pittsburgh will put that there, as well as a calendar of upcoming events so people can take advantage of this. One of the other areas that is important is the information. And people that need support or to find out about the training can find relevant information on this page as well. But in talking about the issue and if there will be adequate training and funding for persons with disabilities, and in particular, in this case, in autism, the resources located on the Autism Society's website have access to many options for people. It links to Autism Resources. There are summer camps and support groups, and it also has other services available. For funding, under initiatives, this is where you can get a lot of information about what is going on to help support those persons with the diagnosis of autism. It is important to be an advocate. There are groups that have joined together and try and convince the government and the officials to make changes in policy and legislation. And without the changes that have occurred in special education over the last 10, 20, 30, and more years, we would not be where we are today, nor have the resources available. For autism, there is the federal government action that had been undertaken, which was the Combating Autism Act. In Pennsylvania, the governor had made a pledge of support and had to respond to questions regarding their stand on autism and finding the support that's necessary for funding the services, the resources, and for training the personnel. In fundraising, there are ways that people can seek donations. They can participate in events and help to increase the funding. And one of them that ties in with the media and can really help to educate others and make them aware of autism as well as other disabilities is when a local organization such as the Pittsburgh Penguins provide some support for a group such as the Autism Society of Pittsburgh. Briefly, to show you what happened on this occasion, is the Penguins Booster Club teamed up with the Penguins to design an annual holiday ornament. And the proceeds of the sale of the ornaments went to the Autism Society. And as you can see from the picture, the Penguins and the Booster Club have been supporting the Autism Society of Pittsburgh since 1970. And while that is great, there is still a need for increased funding and training because, as research has shown, the diagnosis of persons with autism is increasing, and therefore there will be more resources and support programs needed and more professionals trained to work with and provide the education and enable those with autism to have equal opportunities to fulfill any of life's achievements, such as work or anything in leisure. In talking about autism, there are many considerations to be made. Economic resources must be available, as it is estimated that about 1% of the world has an autism spectrum disorder, and in the United States alone, 1 out of every 68 persons is a child born with autism. The prevalence of autism in the United States alone has increased by 119%, and in Pennsylvania, it is estimated that approximately 8,400 people live with autism. The economic aspect is that the cost is increasing, and it is right now between $236 and $262 billion annually. Autism has seen growth in the public awareness through political organizations and worldwide organizations. The United Nations declared April 2nd as World Autism Awareness Day to open global communication to the needs and the resources that must be made available to persons with autism or autism spectrum disorders. On April 1st, President Barack Obama talked about how his administration would focus on helping Americans with autism and enable them to reach their potential. It takes collaboration to work together to find the resources and programs necessary for those with autism, and it takes all people in society to collaborate and be educated on the various factors that affect those with autism. Environmental factors can contribute. Autism Speaks is an organization that is committed to working on understanding which factors can influence the autism spectrum disorders. And one of those is environmental influences and how they can interact with genetics and susceptibility based on environmental factors. Additional factors are training and transitioning throughout education. It is critical for students and adults to have opportunities for employment. And in some cases, employers are given the option to sponsor students or to have students volunteer or adults volunteer to work in a setting that is adaptive to their needs and enables them to be a functioning part of society and a contributing member of society. This can present challenges, however, with proper transitioning skills and education and resources, all persons with autism can be engaged in the work setting and have equal opportunities for success in life. There are daily struggles that persons with autism and their families face. Leisure activities, self-care, transitions from school, year to year, and beyond into the workplace. And making all of these pieces come together is something that occurs through policy changes, legislation, and people being advocates and using an educated approach. It takes many parties to work together and collaborate to provide for people with disabilities. And one area that helps is through proper training that comes as a result of funding. There are big challenges that persons with disabilities face, and persons with autism have challenges in every part of their daily lives. And as long as there is training available to professionals and support systems in place and resources available, then people with autism can have access to equal opportunities in society. This is the focus of many of these groups, such as the Autism Society of America, which is celebrating 50 years and counting. And it is because of organizations like this and others that changes have been made, that legislation has been enacted, and that support systems are in place to properly provide the necessary care and education for persons with disabilities, and in particular persons with autism or disorders on the autism spectrum. Another resource available for persons to find out about the issues that people with autism deal with on a daily basis, or to find out about training and funding that exists for persons with autism, there is the Autism Society, which has been in existence and is celebrating 50 years of support for persons with autism and supporting persons who have family members and loved ones and friends that have been diagnosed with autism. For training and funding, or to find out about the research involved, there are many options for people to seek through this website. News. In the news, people often blog or update on any changes in policy that are pending, whether it is a local change in your state or on a national level. Recently, you can see that people have raised over $40,000 for the Autism Society. The International Board is partnering to find out more about the training requirements for educators and the licensed professionals. And this is occurring in Florida. And it cites the reasoning that there is an increase in the incidence of autism. And so therefore, like it says, it should not come as any surprise that autism-based organizations have to develop new programs, and those new programs have to have the adequate professionals available with the proper training. And in order to do that, it does come down to funding. So people wishing to find out what is going on in the news, how they can help, can seek out any of these websites for more information. And if people are not perhaps living with autism themselves, or do not have a person in their family or close friend that has autism, they can get involved by donating or participating in different events, for example, National Autism Awareness Month. And there's many other ways to get involved. Research is ongoing, and in order to complete the research that's needed to learn more about autism and the disorders on the spectrum, as well as other disabilities, funding is needed. So this is a great resource for persons wanting to find out more about autism and any of the struggles that people have or things that they encounter on a daily basis. These are the places that persons could go to find out more information.
The question continues to be, how do we guarantee that training and funding will exist for persons with disabilities? How do we guarantee that they will have opportunities for employment and the adequate training needed to gain employment and to be active members of society? As a society, it is our duty to stay educated and to provide opportunities for the citizens. And one example of an opportunity that occurs on a yearly basis for those with autism is the Autism Training Conference held by the Bureau of Autism. It is conferences and opportunities such as this, and also policies and acts of legislation that create programs and funding for persons with disabilities. Throughout the past 50 years, many changes have occurred which have enabled persons with disabilities to take advantage of the same opportunities as persons without disabilities. A struggle today is that young adults with autism face challenges after high school because they find themselves unemployed or isolated because they don't have opportunities for continuing education, or there is lack of funding and support services. Because of public awareness, more organizations are trying to provide opportunity. Microsoft is recruiting employees with autism. The United Nations has issued challenges to businesses to hire those with autism. There have been many changes over the course of history involving autism and some key developments in the area of legislation. Most recently, the ABLE Act has been enacted and signed by President Obama. ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, and through this law, people with disabilities will have a new way to save money, and it will provide increased opportunities for financing different services that may be needed by persons with disabilities, especially in the autism community. It will have a tremendous impact in enabling people to have access to a variety of needs and things that would help them, such as employment, training and support, transportation, educational services, health prevention, wellness, financial management, and other related expenses and needs that they may have throughout their life.
In Pennsylvania, we have, through the PennsylvaniaAutism.org, ACERT, which stands for Autism Services, Education, Resources, and Training. And it is part of the Bureau of Autism's method or strategy to help support persons with autism and their families through a variety of resources available to help them seek out training, education, learn about events, find out what is happening in the news, and any other information that they may need can be found on this website. In terms of the issue regarding training and funding, autism training is very important, and currently in the state of Pennsylvania, there is discussion about changing one of the acts which is critical to providing the needed training for students in education to develop their skills that are needed for their futures. This act, which went into effect in July of 2009, was regarding insurance for persons with autism. And recently there has been a movement made to change some of those provisions in Act 62. The act, which is for Pennsylvania autism insurance, basically comes down to how persons with autism need adequate trained staff and support personnel. And currently, people that are seeking to become trained professionals to work with persons with autism have to be supervised and have to have the appropriate training. However, through this petition, it is proposing that persons who are currently unlicensed but are seeking to become trained certified professionals be able to work with those persons with autism under guidance and support staff, and that way there are more people available that are properly trained to work with persons with autism. This is very important, and on this website you can see that there is a whole section devoted to training for autism. And coming up in the near future is the annual Pennsylvania Autism Training Conference, which is held every year. And because of the increase in the number of persons diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder, the conference provides many opportunities for people to find out more about how to provide for these people. People that present share ideas and strategies. They have the opportunity to interact and collaborate with others. There is time to share stories about the struggles and the challenges that exist, whether it be in terms of the economical standpoint, any of the ideas or topics that are being discussed in politics as far as policies. They discuss environmental concerns or behavioral issues. And these are great opportunities for people to engage with each other and learn from each other and provide the necessary support for people with autism and for their families. Programs like this need funding, and families and persons with autism also need funding. But the funding only comes from people being advocates for a cause. And regardless of what the disability is, which in this case it is focused on autism, it is important and crucial for people to have the correct funding and training needed to provide the relevant support for persons that do have these disabilities. And this site provides a lot of information, links to support groups, how to apply for waivers, and transitioning, which is very important as well for persons to succeed beyond their high school and educational setting.
The focus has been increasing on autism and ways to provide for persons with autism. Recently, it has been in the news, and it has been the focus of changes in Pennsylvania, throughout the country, as well as the world. People can have the possibility to bring about change, but in order for change to occur, there needs to be education, there needs to be planning, and there needs to be proper training available. For more information on the ABLE Act and what it covers, you can see the YouTube video, which the link is provided in the handout. Persons with disabilities and their families all have needs. There are many ways that a person can make use of the resources available through organizations such as the Autism Society of Pittsburgh, the National Autism Society, and people can help in many ways, such as donating their time, donating money, participating in events, becoming an advocate, and staying educated about the needs and struggles that other people in society may have. It is important that members of society as a whole work together and collaborate toward a common goal so that we can guarantee that all people in society have adequate resources available, whether it be in the form of training of professionals, funding that is needed, programs that are created and maintained in our state and in the nation. But everyone is entitled to have their opinions on matters, but in terms of being a citizen, it is important to work together so that all people are treated equally in society. If you have questions, you can consult any of the resources available in this video. You can also directly contact the speakers and refer to the handout for links that were placed in the video and also links to the YouTube video tutorial. Because of the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act of 2004, autism has been defined as a disability and falls under the protections of the Act. One other local organization is the Autism Center of Pittsburgh. Please see its website for more information.
Feel free to contact me if you have any questions, and all of the resources are listed on the handout and displayed at the end of this presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and if you have questions, contact me. And please check out the many resources that are out there for people to make use of and learn more about autism and the persons with autism. Thank you.